Hi, I am Chandrapal Kesri. Today I am going to discuss about objects and classes in object-oriented programming. So let's dive into it. This is our table of contents. So we will first look at overview of object-oriented programming, and then after we will go to discuss about what is a class, what is an object, class and object relationship, example using Java, and we will conclude it. So let's start. Overview of object-oriented programming. So, object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm centered around the concept of objects, which represents real-world entities. In object-oriented programming, software is designed by defining classes, which act as blueprints for objects. These objects can contain data and methods that operate on data. OOP also promotes concepts like encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism, making code more modular, reusable, and easier to maintain. So, in a simple way, object-oriented programming is a way of writing program where we define objects and classes. Besides objects and classes, we have other concepts in object-oriented programming like encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance. But in this presentation, we will look only on class and object in detail. So let's move on the next slide. What is a class? A class in object-oriented programming is a blueprint for creating objects. It defines the properties and behaviors that the objects created from the class will have. Think of a class as a template. While the class itself is not an object, it provides the structure for creating multiple objects with similar characteristics. You could see there is an image. It represents a blueprint for making a house. But this is not an object. We will make lots of objects from this particular class. That means this particular template. We can able to make lots of houses. And one thing has to be considered here that all these objects will be different from each other. So for the time being, we should understand that with the help of class, we can create multiple objects. And object has two things, attributes and methods. Okay, let's move on into the next slide. So what is an object? So when you define an object, so it's simply an instance of a class. That means when we create an object by using class, we say in this way we have created an instance of a class. So it has two things. One we call attributes and other one is called methods. Let's say I'm talking about a car. Okay, it could be a specific car. Now, how does the car look like? Okay, so it may be white in color, it may be blue in color. Okay, so this is nothing but attributes. And when it comes to methods, uh, like how how is the speed of the car? Okay, what about acceleration? So these are all the performance, like what can a car do? Okay, so these two important things uh, an object have. One is attributes and methods. And here I am going to take an example. Here a class, and you could see this is a template. Okay, and in this template it's already I mean the common thing about a car, like a car should have two headlights, a car should have four wheels. So in this particular class, these uh, it's already defined. Now we will create other objects from this particular template. Okay, from this particular template. So we have Audi, we have Nissan, we have Volvo. So these are all other brand of cars that we have created from this particular template, from this particular prototype. So uh, so in a very simple way, that from the class we can create lots of objects, and an object must have attributes and methods. I think it is clear. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, a nice way to look at class and object and their relationship through this picture. So when we say animal, it means we are talking about class. But when we start specifying a particular animal like elephant, lion, bird, deer, so basically we are talking about objects of this animal, because when we say animal, animal doesn't specify any kind of animal, but we can say that this is a template where there may be lots of animals. Lots of animals means lots of other kinds of animals, like we have elephant, lion, deer. So one could say that when we say animal, it means class, and when we say uh, elephant, it means object of that particular class, which is animal. So through this picture, it perfectly display how these class and object related. Okay, so let's go in the next slide. Example using Java. So in this slide, I'm going to discuss about how to implement classes and objects through Java language. By the way, there are lots of languages which supports object-oriented programming. Java is one of those languages. So now look at this particular image. Uh, Here we have created a class called Kelsey, and we have uh, created properties num1, num underscore 1, num underscore 2, and result, and we have defined a methods, and this is a very simple I mean it performs very simple tasks, which is addition. So this particular class is kind of a template of a calculator which perform a very simple thing, which is addition. Now here so this is a Kelsey class that I have talked about. Now here in this main class, which is inside the learn obj class, I have created an object. So let's look at how did I create it. So there are two ways to do that. Here I have written the class name and then the name of the object. And now here I have created an object. This is the method one, where I have used the new keyword. After that, uh, I have written the class name with parentheses. So this is the object uh, that I have created. Now there is another way to do that. Let's say this is the one, through this single line we can also create an object. Here you could see, we can see that we have 26 and 28. So there are two lines we use, but in 34 we have used only one line. You could see Kelsey, which is the name of the class. This is I have created an object. Let's say the obj underscore 2 is equal to new Kelsey parenthesis. So this is a second way to create an object. So whatever the way, so these are the two ways to creating an object. Whatever suits you, you can go with that. Okay. Now, how we can assign, I mean, now in this particular class, Kelsey, I want to access num underscore 1, num underscore 2. Let's see how to do that. We have already created an object. Let's say I'm going to take this example, obj. Now obj dot num underscore 1, and here we have assigned 7. Similarly, we have assigned 3 underscore num underscore 2, and here this is the function or method that we have assigned, obj dot perform. So now what will happen? So num underscore 1 will have 7, num underscore 2 will have 3, and then after it will execute, while when the program will in the execution mode, it will execute perform. And how we can able to access these class through this particular object that we have created, obj, and then we will print it and obj dot result. So we can see here whatever the result will come, it will store in the result. So we want to uh, print this out, and that's how we can able to use classes and objects using Java. Okay, I think it makes sense. uh, let's move to the next slide. So it's time to conclude this presentation. So object-oriented programming is a powerful paradigm that models software design using real-world concepts. By encapsulating data and behavior within classes, object-oriented programming promotes modularity, reusability, and maintainability. References: books, Object-Oriented Programming in C++ by Robert Leffer, Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Object-Oriented Software by Gamma et al. Websites: Geeks for Geeks, Object-Oriented Programming, Tutorials, Point, C++, Classes and Objects. Thank you all for your time and attention. I hope you find the presentation informative and engaging. If you have any questions or would like to discuss anything further, I am happy to continue the conversation. Okay, thank you.